very busy trying to get those sales in for Vivek. You know how he is. So
I do know a little bit about that. Yeah, I
yeah, so
do.
you guys go way back, huh?
I wouldn't say way back, but we go back what seems like an eternity.
Oh, great.
Anyway, yeah, I like Vivek a lot, and we have very interesting conversations. Anyway, so just can you tell me a little bit about what it is you exactly do and the kinds of people that you will be talking to, just so I can understand better your role?
Yes, well, I work as the Chief Education Director and also the Senior Account Manager over at Survey Analytics. So I deal with a lot of our high-end clients with all of the different tools and capabilities that we have. So it'll come from, troubleshooting issues with their surveys and also making recommendations on different products and tools that are continually rolling out with the survey analytics package. So I did see that DiscoverText or the Texifier has been included, and really we didn't know too much about it, and people have been asking about it because everyone's really interested in doing a lot more open-ended text. So
Sure.
in talking to you, I'd really like to know more about this so I can recommend people to add this on if they want to do more open-ended text data analysis.
Great. That's a very helpful description, and I'll walk you through it.
Okay, sounds
So,
great.
and at any point you want to stop and ask for clarification, please feel free because there's a lot in here, and I sometimes get a little carried away without interruption. So feel free to interrupt me at any time. So, I mean, one of the key things for us that we've learned, we set up the login with Facebook feature mostly for credentialing purposes because we thought people didn't want to create new accounts, and so that we let them use this wonderful credentialing feature. And by the way, the company name, and Vivek gives me a hard time about this, is TechSifter. So if you think about Texas and Sifter and you stick them together, you'll have TechSifter.
Okay, so that's how you say it. I was always.
That's how you say it. In fact, it's confused people enough that it's on our help page. It's on the frequently asked questions.
How do you say your
Uh,
name?
how do you say TechSifter? And I say two phonetics: Tech Sifter or Tech Sifter.
Nice.
Right?
Okay.
Either one works.
I like how you have that as
So,
one of your help questions. That's awesome.
well, enough. I won't say why, but we do. And anyway, another thing on this help page that I encourage people to look at is if they're going to use their Facebook credentials, we have a page that walks people through the particulars of what's involved. And this may be very familiar to you if you've done this for other websites, but for a lot of people, they might be doing it for the first time, and they may be coming to our product because they're interested in content on Facebook. But to get that content on Facebook, they have to use this particular login, which has these series of steps. So we've broken it down for people to explain to them what those steps are so that they can see them before they actually have to do them,
Hmm.
right? So some people are concerned when they click allow for access, but this is a page created by Facebook.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
don't have control over what it says. We don't take advantage. Now we do intervene here sort of in the middle of the process, and this is a page on our registration process where we let people opt out of some of the things that Facebook gives us access to, right? So
Okay.
they can create a hybrid of permissions or an all-in-one, and then finally they've got to do one more allow, and it for some people they won't want to do this, and we're just very upfront about that. That it sounds like a lot of permissions to give to software companies,
That's
right?
true.
But it's what you need to do if you want to use the particular feature, one of the features I'm going to show you today.
Is this
Okay.
for, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is this for those who are the administrator for text or Discover Text
No, this
distro?
is any user of this software can
Okay.
start using it for free on the first day for 30 days by
Mm-hmm.
logging in using their Facebook credentials,
Okay, great.
right? They could also just register if they don't like the idea or they don't use Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to use their Facebook account for this, there's a typical username, password, registration. Boy, the fonts look very funny to me today on these. I don't know why. Maybe it's the GoToMeeting changes the fonts. They all seem squished together here on my screen.
Oh, it looks okay on my
And
end.
good. That's good. I'm glad. I wonder if it would look different on Firefox. Anyway, so they can go through either way. I tend to encourage people to go in through the Facebook way because a lot of people are very interested in the things you can do with the Facebook data. So once you're logged in, let me just explain. This is the landing page.
Mhm.
Let me explain the features of the system. At the um, at the highest level, the could actually could I just ask, Esther, could you move your microphone just a little bit further away?
Oh, am I breathing too hard in it? I'm sorry.
I'm getting a little bit. It's a li-
Okay, is that a little bit better?
I apologize for asking, but that it was just throwing me off a little bit.
No, I understand.
That is
That's
much
okay.
better,
Okay.
and you could
And
tell me if I'm doing the same.
okay.
Okay, so at
You
the
can still hear me though, right?
perfectly well.
Okay, yeah. I thought I moved it away from my mouth and then I had it actually closer to my nose. So I was breathing through my nose. But okay, this is gonna work.
Okay, this is good information for future meetings.
Yeah.
So at the highest level, we have projects, right? So you can start a new project or work on an existing project, and projects are composed of different elements, right? So a project could have a number of archives, and so in terms of survey analytics customers, we're thinking about the uh, survey responses coming either in the form of a XML or CSV file that they're going to bring in, and they may have multiple uploads that are from a single project, but the project may have other components as well, such as Twitter feeds related to the product or the project, or the Facebook page content. So there can be as many archives as you want in one project.
Mhm.
Then the buckets are going to be created through searching, and I'll show you the regular search and the advanced search. That allows you to slice through your archives and create subsets of those archives, and filtering on metadata that's attached to the items you're searching on. So for example, if you ingest a spreadsheet, and it's got a series of open-ended answers, those answers would have this under and have those answers would have certain metadata associated with each answer, and we can show you how to leverage that metadata in your search to create buckets that are sort of subsets of your total collection of text.
Hmm.
Then finally, the buckets or the archives can be converted into codable data sets, right? And coding is how we got started in this software. It's interesting that as we've gotten more sophisticated, we've buried our key, the key feature that we started with pretty deep down in the hierarchy of the workflow. But that's really where we started, which was giving people an easy way to review lots of items in a data set and to code them as having certain properties. And I'll
Mhm.
show you that as well. So
Okay.
that's the overall architecture. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, good. So let's just start a new project. And let's make the project, I don't know, Question Pro. I'll do a little project about your software.
Or actually, you probably want to do survey analytics because we don't sell it on Question Pro.
Oh, okay. Sure. Well, no
Sorry.
problem. So I can go, well, don't bother. I'll just create another one. So the project name could be Survey Analytics.
Yes.
Okay. And so I've got a project Survey Analytics. It doesn't have anything in it yet, but it does have a couple of options. If I had, a spreadsheet with a bunch of data from a survey, I could import it here, right? So I've got these different options. This is zip archive of plain text files. FDMS is the bulk download from the federal docket management system. We originally built this software for federal rule writers, and this is their standard portal that they have their data stored in. Probably for your customers, it's going to be the XML file or the Excel spreadsheet.
Mhm.
And what we're working with Vivek on, and also Rob over at Idea Scale, is the building an API that looks something like what I'm about to show you. We don't have it yet, and I'm sort of hoping to get Vivek interested in it, because this is really something that when we show it to people, they like a lot. So let me just go back and make sure it's clear what this is. I've still got no data in my project. I don't actually have a spreadsheet
Mhm.
to ingest right now of your data, but we can go out and collect some data about survey analytics off the web. So this is the import live feed option,
Mhm.
and say we wanted to, the default is Facebook. We have a choice here. We're going to be building this out and adding other. This is where we'd like to add an API that goes straight to Question Pro, and another one that goes straight to Idea Scale. And the reason for that is we want people who are using this software to be able to authenticate that they're owners of data on third-party systems,
Mhm.
right? Or in the case of Facebook, you're credentialing that you have access to the graph with a certain level of privileges according to who you are. We
Mhm.
want people to be able to do that for all sorts of things, including email systems, especially if they're server admins, but also well, pretty much any database where there's text. So the next sets of APIs that are coming along in our development process are going to be hopefully to Question Pro and Idea Scale, but also to a bunch of the Google APIs, so that you'll be able to ingest feeds from Google News uh, or Google search results, and there'll be some interesting possibilities there. So let's
Mhm.
just start with Facebook, and we'll create an archive called oops, Linux. I hate typing while talking.
Mhm.
Terrible at it. So this is step one. And then on step two, if you know the name of the page on Facebook, you can put it in here, but it's usually more interesting to use this search engine. So this is search provided by the Graph API from Facebook that allows you to search, and the results that you see are, so that's the only page. That's interesting. I do a lot of these searches and demos, and there's usually a list of pages and a list of groups. I'll show you in a second what that looks like.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
so this is probably your page on Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah. And the next step is I can either just start importing the feed, and right now what it'll do is it'll go back 6 months from the day you start. Um, However, that's a constraint that we set artificially. We can actually go back further,
Hmm.
or you can also go day forward. So if I check this box, I can set it to do up to 100 fetches, and then I've got a scheduler. And my guess is you get some traffic on Facebook, but not a ton. So probably once a week, I'm going
Mhm.
to get everything. Uh, Now, for some of the, like if it was the White House or Sarah Palin, you might want to do this more often. And
Yeah.
certainly with Twitter, some of the most popular Twitter feeds, you have to do it every 15 or 30 minutes.
Mhm.
So this is scheduling to do once a week. It's going to import the feed. See, I've got some notifications up here. I've got a bunch of feeds scheduled, right? So when a feed comes through, well, here's yours processed. Huh, 21 out of 70 items found. That's interesting. I'm not sure why that is. Um, I now have an archive with 21 items. I have to investigate where other 49 items are.
Could it be because we use mostly an RSS feed from our blog to post things on?
I don't know. We're still learning about what this is good at, and what this doesn't get.
Mhm.
So this is a fairly new tool. Is this your?
I've never even seen these people's names. Let's see. Some of that is. This is good games. No, never heard of that. I did post that one. I didn't post that one. I posted that one. I didn't post that one.
Well, these may be comments on your page.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did post that one, I remember.
Huh. Okay, so um, we're probably going to want to dig around and figure out why your data looks the way it does.
Mhm.
Let me give you a glimpse of some other projects here,
Okay.
just so you get a sense of, like, here's the White House, 40,000 items, Starbucks, 11,000 items, uh, Microsoft. Um, if we do a live feed search of a more common term, like let's say Apple. Okay, so here's a more typical, right, you're going to get a series of pages and then a series of groups. Right now, we're not doing a very good job displaying this. This was sort of version one of this tool.
Mhm.
But in the future, what we're going to do is blow this whole process out so that your Facebook search results are more graphically rich and have more metadata, and you get an idea of what you're getting when you do a when you when you import a feed. Right now, it's a little bit well, some it's easy to know what you're getting, and others you're not quite sure what you're getting. Right?
Mhm.
Like in your case, I'm not quite sure. We got the White House. We know this is the White House page or the Starbucks page. With Twitter, see, I've got some Twitter results up here too. I don't know if oops, change this.
So those would load differently if for different feed types.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. You get a different screen depending which one that you analytics depending what you're after.
Okay.
And so here you have to authenticate with your Twitter credentials. So you have to have a Twitter account to get into the Twitter API. And again, this is where we'd really like to see. Wait, so let me type. It's an unmitigated disaster if I talk and type.
Oh, that's okay. I'm no better. And I'm the one who does all the
Good,
training, so we're okay.
good. Okay, so now I'm authenticated with Twitter,
Mhm.
and I can do a search for the hashtag survey analytics. Again, I can set it up. I don't think you guys are quite mashable yet, so we'll do it once a day. Oh,
Yeah, we don't have.
nothing.
Huh, interesting.
Do you have a different did I do a typo? Wonder what your
Mm,
Twitter feed is.
no, that should be it. And we have, like I said, I mean, it's a feed that goes automatically from our blog to our Facebook, and we have it fed to our things. I'm wondering if things are missing because we're not manually pasting anything into our Twitter.
I don't know. I'm not that much of a Twitter expert yet, to be honest.
That's okay.
Uh,
I'm trying to avoid being on Twitter.
ah,
Although it is the spot to be apparently.
apparently, yeah. So here you guys are. Okay, at Survey Analytics. Let's try that.
Oh, okay.
So the hashtag is something that people use as a convention, but um, it's not a Twitter rule, right?
Mhm.
It's just something people do.
Oh, you spell
At Survey. Oh, yeah. And I was talking.
it.
There it is. Analytics. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. So you have to first name the archive, or you could put it back into the same archive as well. So you could have multiple fetches running on different searches. Survey analytics. And let me just say something about that because I've had several phone calls today, and a long one today about our plans for the future of this. In the future, this is going to be a much more, just like the Facebook search, this is going to be a much more robust search that'll build off of, build models of co-occurrences of tags. So people do a lot of basically coding
Mhm.
of their posts on Twitter by tagging them with other hashtags. And
Mhm.
so we're going to ingest all that into a classifier and build a model so that when someone says they're interested in survey analytics, we'll be able to suggest other Twitter search terms that are related to that. So a related search feature.
Oh, okay.
Kind of excited about that one. All right. So we'll do 100 fetches once a day. See if we do a little better here. Then we'll get on to the text analytics. This is really the text gathering
Mhm.
part, and then the analytics comes next.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I hope I'm not
Oh.
using too much of your time.
Oh no, that's okay. I want to know from the beginning because it would be and exciting. I don't know. I love learning new stuff, so this is
Cool.
all cool stuff to me.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Let's see what's going.
Oh,
Okay, so here's 200 in this archive.
okay, good.
So now I got an archive. It's basically based on a Twitter feed.
Mhm.
What it will do is the Twitter API gives you up to 1,500 items in a fetch. So the biggest you'll get is 1,500 in a particular fetch. And now that I've set it up to repeat, once a day it'll go back and get the next 1,500, and it will only add the ones that are new. So it'll accumulate unique tweets going forward over time.
Mhm.
And part of what the system does is keep track of which ones somebody has read, and I'll show you the reader window in a second, and which ones have been coded. So, we're often dealing with, and I can show you data sets that have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of items in them. And if you have to get through them for one reason or another, the system was architected to keep track of who's looked at what and who's coded what. I'll show you some of those features. So one of the things I could do right off the bat is start a tag cloud generating in the background. This is a fairly simple process at this point. It doesn't produce anything too fancy.
Mhm.
What we're working on and what we're going to be rolling out. So these are the most frequently occurring terms in this archive,
Does
and
it
I
have
can
a
I can
does it have a number for these particular
yeah.
ones or?
You see if I scroll over it, it toggles the number up
Oh.
into that pop-up. So here's question pro 19 occurrences,
Mhm.
and if I click on it, it's going to it's interesting. It's going to give me search results. So now I've got 19 out of uh, oh
These are
how's
their
that working?
search
Oh, it's
results.
21 occurrences,
Mhm.
19 in 19 documents.
Oh.
Remember, this is a little confusing, but the toggle said I think 19.
Oh, okay, cool.
So these are the occurrences, and what's going on in the background is now I've created a bucket, right? So I've got a oh, did I not? It's interesting. Do that again. Question pro search. I don't know why I never get this message. I don't know why I chose Internet Explorer. I almost always use Firefox. Getting some funny messages. Okay. So here's my bucket. It's
Hmm.
got 21 documents where question pro occurs. And if I go back to the full archive, so this is part of this whole slice and dice process
Mhm.
that you might start with a big pile, and you might just want to browse those documents. So if you
Mhm.
just want to browse the whole pile, this is my full pile of 200. I can see them in a list. I can control the number of items that appear on the screen, so I can reset this to 100. With tweets, they're always short, so changing the length of the preview doesn't do anything. I
Mhm.
can go read or unread. This is the reader window I was mentioning.
Mhm.
If you just want to browse your, ooh, that's terrible. I shouldn't do that. If you just want to browse your comments, it's just a right arrow on the right left arrow,
Mhm.
and if you want to see the metadata, you saw this before. So
Yeah.
we call this the reader window. And in the background, the system's going to keep track of whether things have been read or not.
Oh, okay.
All right. I've shown you the search. You can search through the tag clouds. You can search, right here just on keywords. You could also do advanced search. This is where the tool starts to get a little more powerful. So these are the metadata fields associated with the tweets. So if I wanted to say in reply to contains, you know, Vivek, right?
Mhm.
Now I've got a filter in place. If I run a search, instead of searching across all 200, it's going to only search across the ones in which the reply to was contained Vivek. You can see there are different rules that you can create, and depending on the metadata, these can be a very powerful feature,
Hmm.
right? So say you're bringing in survey data,
Mhm.
and you've got one open-ended answer per row, and then every column after that has different demographic data and other related data about your respondent. Then you're going to be able to filter to some subset of your total response population. So we were talking to Zynga the other day, and they were really interested in this
Mhm.
because they get huge numbers of responses when they put their surveys out, and in fairly real time, they're going to want to be able to slice into that data and pull out just some constellation of responses to a particular question from some subset of their respondents. And so that's what this metadata filtering in advanced search is good for, because you can use combinations of these filters to create slices of your data
Mhm.
that are very particular.
Yeah, that's
And
great. Yeah, because they're a client of ours too, so that would be awesome to be able to at least say, "Oh, great, you guys have this."
well, they don't have. I mean, Vivek introduced us,
Oh.
so we've just started talking to them. We've just really had like our first conversation last week.
Oh, okay.
But I was showing them they were talking about what they do in terms of manual coding of text, and part of what we're promoting here is a model that once you let me switch to another just so you see this with a different data set. This is some WikiLeaks data, uh, the Afghan War Diaries. This was the first big WikiLeaks release, 76,000 items, and they've got this data came with amazing set of metadata,
Wow.
right? So I can filter on like friendly killed in action, does not contain the number 0, right? And now when I do a search, I'm gonna instead of searching all 76,000, I'm going to be searching the subset that obeys this rule. I can create a series of these rules if I want that can complement them. And then if I do this search for source, it's going to grind through that larger data set. So they might have metadata filters like plays Farmville, plays Cityville, likes to decorate, a whole series of things. So here I've got search results, 1,970 items, and it shows the filter. Friendly killed in action doesn't contain 0. And, you know, I show people this data because it's really rich.
Mhm.
Um, and we don't distribute it or anything like that, but it sort of shows you the power, because now basically what I've got is that subset of reports with really powerful metadata associated with them, including longitude and latitude, explaining, what the reports were saying about the sources in incidents where friendlies were killed in action. So you
Yeah.
see how you can compile multiple filters
Mhm.
in a way to extract inferences from a very large data set based on a small sample according to certain rules. So say I actually have this bucket with this 1970 items, I can go in and look at those 1970 items, or I could actually create a data set.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Okay, so now this might be source, and I could say, friendly kill in action uh, greater than, I don't know if it's going to take that, greater than 0, something like that. Okay, and this is going to be my data set name. Now, remember what I said, we had buried the original function of the software deep? Here we are, we're half hour in,
Yeah.
and we're just getting to the point where we're creating codable data sets.
Oh,
Now,
good.
one of the things we're going to work on is a shorter pathway, right, to get to the point where you're actually coding data, and we're
Mhm.
having a meeting actually about this tomorrow. But for now, I think it's important for new users of the system to understand that this is really where you want to get to. You want to get to the point where you're actually coding data. Now, if you've got a predefined code scheme, are you familiar with, how familiar are you with coding text data?
I used to do a little bit of it at my former research firm, but it was always different how clients wanted it, so I've got
Sure.
very general knowledge of it.
Did you use any particular software package back then?
No, we actually hand coded a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
But you understand the idea of generating a set of codes and then applying those codes as labels. So
yeah.
you could upload it, or let me show you the different coding styles. So for now, I'm going to leave this verification on, and I'll show you what the difference between on and off. I'm going to allow user defined codes. It means this is what we do at the start of a project when we don't really have labels,
Mhm.
and we want people to just develop labels as they go along. And this is where you select whether or not you want the coder to be able to apply more than one code to a piece of text.
Okay.
Okay, and part of what's distinctive about our system is that the chunks of text to be coded are delineated in advance. So, like one answer to an open-ended survey question is an almost perfect size chunk of text. We built the software coding emails where you were applying one label to the whole email, and it wasn't about breaking the email into parts. But I'll say more about that in a second. The standard coding or automatically load the next. These are the two major types. Standard coding is when multiple coders are going to code the same thing. Our tool was built originally to measure the inter-rater reliability between coders. So if for any of your clients it is important for them to have coders making decisions in a consistent, reliable way,
Mhm.
this is a very important feature of the system. It was the original reason we built the system, was to measure the inter-rater reliability of coders and then to adjudicate their differences when they disagree, to basically assign a validity value to a coder's choice. So this is our standard coding. It's for assigning multiple coders the same coding. Down here is something we developed for the FCC, which is they don't really care who reads what. They just have to, do triage through thousands of items. They want the next available uncoded item to load to the screen automatically, no matter whose turn it is. And so that's what that feature is. We don't really use this middle one that much. I'll
Hmm,
just leave it
okay.
on standard for now. So I'm going to create a data set. In the second step, I have again a chance to upload the code file. If you want to upload a code file, it's a very simple protocol here, right? It's a plain text file, a code name, a delimiter, which is the pipe key, the code definition, delimiter, and then the keystroke that you want to assign the coding to. We're not going to have any codes to start this project. We're just going to use user-defined coding, but I'll show you how that looks in a second. I'll just say finish. And basically, I've created a data set with no predefined labels. It's that subset, right? This source with a particular filter. These available coders are my peers in the system, and I'll walk you through the peer system in a bit. These are people who've agreed to be my peers on DiscoverText, which is the same as being not exactly the same. It's similar to being a friend on Facebook. I
Mhm.
invite you to be my peer. You either say yes or no. Once you say yes, we can share data with each other.
Mhm.
Okay, so Mark is my CTO. I always assign him in demos, and I set us as the chosen coders. And if I go to code data set, here's this one I just created. It's got those 1970 items. And I go in to code it. I've got no codes yet. They'll accumulate over here. I've got my data. I've got access to the metadata. I can hide it as well. I can read the item, and if I want, I think I can make it bigger. I don't see where that is. Um, and if I want to start generating labels, right? And I want to do more than one, per item. I don't know why we're all in caps here.
Mhm.
Say these three. Oops. Okay. I don't know why the enter key didn't work there. This is the verification step. Then I can turn it on and off. It asks me to review the coding, and if I verify it, those codes are added here to the list. And then the next item loads. Right?
Oh.
I might say police, pencils, and claims. Huh. I don't know why the enter key is not keyed today. So we can turn that and what's going on now is, if you've got a group of people doing this, like sometimes we'll put 4 coders to work. This list builds in real time, and they're either looking at the same documents or they're looking at different documents. But basically, this step in the coding process is a
Mhm.
kind of human discovery, right? It's basically humans reading text and generating possible labels for the text. And those labels, you can hide the other user's codes. You can edit the codes, um, merge them together, delete them. Whoops, this came up on my other screen. Uh, that's interesting. I don't think anybody's looked at this screen in a while.
Mhm.
uh, but this is our user-generated coding scheme. Now, if I take that same bucket, to another data set, this time I'm going to disable the verification. I'm not going to allow user to find codes, and I'm not going to allow them to select multiple. So basically, this particular setting is for high-speed sort of triage coding, where you have to make one decision about every item. And I'll just instead of uploading a file, I'll just show you the man. You can create a code like keeper, and I'm being just a little facetious here with my labels. These can, of course, say anything you want.
Mhm.
Right? And you can say, and you might have one that's borderline. Now, I often create 3 in demos because I'm a slow typer. Uh, but the number of labels that you create here at this stage is up to the owner of the data set, right? These codes can be anything. They could be discursive properties. They could be, characteristics of commenters. They could be product references. It could be, they're just labels,
Mhm.
and they could be anything at all. So you finished, and set the chosen coders. And if I go to code the data sets now, here's this new one I created. And the screen looks a little different. Instead of having an open-ended field, I've got buttons, right, that correspond with the labels and that have keystrokes associated with them.
Mhm.
There's my definition pop up if I if I scroll over it, and the coding now can be done with the mouse or with the keypad. When you use a keypad, it turns red. I'm not sure why it doesn't turn red, because you can move it along pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Is
Interesting.
part of what we're going for is not having to go back to the list. Once you've got your data into its buckets and into its data sets, it should load and code, load and code, load and code. And if you see something that's particularly useful, say it's a chunk of a comment that you want to come back to, you can highlight that comment and bookmark it. Right? Click Add Memo. That part that I highlighted automatically appears here in what we call the trigger text,
Hmm.
right? Because it's triggered a thought, and then you can share that with everybody on your team as the default, or just you and the dataset owner, or just you. You can code it, uh, and then you can, right? And basically, it's in this. This is where some of the analytic work gets done. Like, oh, we've got a problem here, Jim. We've got to address the blah blah blah. Now I've created a an audit trail, sort of who did this, and that memo that I created, that bookmark, goes onto a sort of master list of bookmarks. This is my master list of bookmarks, and I can filter by that data set that I was just working on.
Hmm.
Here's my trigger text, how I coded it. Here's the little memo that I wrote about the trigger, and I can export these. These accumulate throughout a project. Then you can export them, make them interoperable with other software. You can jump back to their original spot. Somebody else can come along and also add a bookmark. So actually, when we get around to it, we've just been really busy lately. We're going to make this space more like a dialogue, more like a chat,
Hmm.
like instant message chat, so that you could have a sort of running dialogue in real time about the trigger text.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I think this is one of the key features in the system at a certain level. Ultimately, what people want back are reports, right? So I can go into my project. I haven't done much coding yet. Can select from which coders, which codes, get an overview, right,
Oh, cool.
of how the coding breaks down, but then also the ability to extract out, a rich text file or a PDF file with all the items in a particular category. So in the end, people ask me, what's the final product? For some people, it's just, a graphical representation that they
Hmm.
can put in a report. But for serious analysts of text data, it's really going back once all the data is coded and you're reading it, right? Coding it is just a way of organizing it. You actually still need to do human analytic work.
Hmm.
There's no shortcut around that, right? We don't make meaning, or we don't reach inferences based on the data. We are better described as like a glorified filing cabinet, and we help people to file bits and pieces of data so that they can retrieve them. The method is called code and retrieve,
Hmm.
uh, so that they can retrieve them and use them in their research. So that's one of the ways. What is? Whoops.
So besides that, sorry to keep to
Yeah,
interrupt you,
yeah.
but can you go back to the main page? I guess I wanted to
The
see
dash.
just some of the yeah. I just wanted to see some of the other reporting parts because my thing with my clients is that they want to know because we offer sort of it's not as cool as your guys's, but we do offer a small text categorization tool that does give them a chart after they're done and has to be done manually. So it's kind of like coding in a way.
Uh
Um,
huh.
and then we also do the tag clouds. But I do like the fact that you do specify the number of term in terms of the occurrences. I think that's really good. I wonder why we haven't had that yet. I think that would be pretty neat. And then besides that, I did see something about clustering and all that other stuff with the data.
Yeah.
I guess my thing is I'm really interested in terms of the reports because I want to show people like beyond what we have, this is what the additional things you can do. Or maybe I should just go in there and just play around with it. I don't know.
It might make sense to play. I mean, some of the reporting features that you saw there on that page, like the clustering reports, have to do with features that are currently really targeted towards uh, our users from the federal government
Mhm.
who receive mass email campaigns. So
Mhm.
what we do offer deduplication, right, and then clustering, and then automatic identification of like here's a 4,000 emails to the EPA. And when we remove the duplicates, we find that there's really only 1,196 that are near duplicates, right? And so this is an automatic engine that was built specifically for rural writers who
Mhm.
face these kinds of mass email campaigns. Now there may be some big companies who get similar campaigns. I'm not sure. I'd be curious to know actually if like Coca-Cola or people like that get mass email campaigns. They must at some point. But the
Yeah.
government gets a bunch of them. So we
Mhm.
remove the duplicates and then we cluster the near duplicates. So in this case, there are 64 clusters and we have the different cluster sizes, right? And if you want to, if a user wants to go in and review that cluster, they can do so. And what we do is we make it, um, we automatically highlight the parts that are non-form letters, what we would call the form plus. These ones were easy. In this cluster, a lot of the changes showed up. This was a move on campaign. Let me get to a different cluster. But I just want you to understand what the clustering currently does is tailored to the specific problem.
Oh.
Uh, of mass email campaigns. That's where all our original research money came from. Huh, more move-ons. Um, and what's coming in the future. Oh, I need to take a drink of water. I think I've talked myself hoarse today.
That's okay.
This is like the fourth or fifth phone call today, so I've been talking it up all day. Um, what's what's coming down the pipeline? This actually looks a lot more interesting when you get into some of um, the different clusters where the editing appears throughout the document. Uh, oh, these are all move-on clusters.
Interesting.
Yeah, sometimes the comments are much longer and the edits appear throughout, and so it does save them a lot of time.
Mhm.
And we are looking for ways in which these kinds of clustering tools. It's like when a user has one of these data sets, they can run the clustering themselves and set the threshold level for how similar documents need to be in the same cluster. In the future, the tag clouds will be not tag clouds, but really topic models.
Mhm.
And this is something that that the Zynga folks were very interested in as well. That you can develop with some assistance, very limited assistance from a human, a sort of model of certain topics that you're interested in. So you're going to be able to say, I care about X, Y, and Z. Build a model of of those topics for me, where there are, 6 or 7 or 10 terms that define that topic in every cluster. So that's the direction we're going is the building of topic models that are um, dynamic and can be manipulated by users. We're certainly not there yet. We can do it in the lab.
Mhm.
We just haven't had time to build it out as software. I think you guys probably know what that's like. You can have
Yeah.
a million great ideas and only so many people writing code.
That's true. That's true. That's always been the thing. Like we've got all these ideas, we want to sell it to people, and they want to buy, but we gotta wait and then we got to see how it fits with everything else. But yeah, this is
Oh,
good. Well, don't worry about that, I guess. But
yeah,
yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk to you is pricing. How do you guys price these things out?
right. We created a special offer for Survey Analytics customers. I have to find the page.
Yeah,
I'll show it to you.
I think he had
I
sent
think I
it
may have
like
sent it to you.
a long time ago,
Yes.
but I don't remember it.
Let me. I'm going to find the URL right now. Uh,
Yeah, I'm getting excited. I'm like, I've got this survey. I've got a bunch of open-ended texts. I want to go in and start my trial and see what I come up with. So that'll be
yeah,
fun.
yeah. Well, I hope you will. And if you get stuck, I hope you'll I hope you'll feel free to call me or email me with any questions that you have about that.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, I would really like to work. We're actually flirting with the idea of making a better client for email. I hate email. It's killing me. Bur Buried in it. I'd love to have a smarter email client. This would have been a good thing to have ready to go for this meeting. Okay. I think I did send it to you. So if I find an email that I sent to you,
Huh.
where did I? This, this is just my brain shutting down. I'll find it. Just ESTH.
Did you?
Oh, that's right. You're in my other email. Okay,
Oh.
too many emails. That's the other problem. I have my university email, my company email, my Gmail. Ooh, Firefox 4. That looks good. I have not seen that yet. I love Firefox.
I could tell.
Okay. Sent.
Yeah, while you're waiting or trying to grab that, the other thing I was thinking of, I'd love to bring you guys in to do a webinar, maybe February or March, something a little bit down the road. Once you guys have some more of your tools that you'd like to implement, maybe March or April is probably more realistic. It sounds like,
Sure.
um,
Sure.
and just kind of show the partnership and also stir some interest from our Question Pro and Survey Analytics clients, because I know that they're very interested in open-ended text data, and the main thing I know they're really stuck on, obviously, is what kind of reports can I get from this? That's their main deal. So, in me working with this and just kind of getting familiar with it, it would help me be able to answer a lot of different questions. But I'd like to bring you in just to kind of be like, why do you want to do this, and what is the thing? But I can definitely see a lot of the things that you had said, like coding. It's just part of the part of the equation for analyzing open-ended text. But I think you've got a lot of really awesome tools that I think people will be very amazed and blown away by. So I'd really love to bring you in to do like a
Well,
real quick thing.
thanks. That's really nice of you to say. And now I found it.
Hmm.
Okay. Now I don't know what's going on with the software. So this is the actual page that in theory Vivek is going to send around a an email about to your clients.
Mm-hmm.
So um, he's not a fan of this pricing scheme. So it remains to be seen if he'll ever send the email. But we don't imagine uh, at this point we're going to get a bunch of people who want 10 or 50 or 100 seat licenses that most people are going to want to take, small number of licenses. And so
Mm-hmm.
this is where I would point your people for the deal they get for being an existing customer of Survey Analytics.
And Stu, would you be open to us selling it as part of a package if we were to, like my sales team, if we were to, say, with this I can give you this, and then we
Yep,
that
yep,
would be fine.
that would be great.
And then somehow we would work out an internal invoicing and pay you that 195. Is that what you and Vivek had discussed in the past, or?
We had talked about it. I can't say that we came to any kind of agreement or understanding, but there was a sort of loose agreement that you guys could take uh, some leadership on that kind of a packaging, and what works for you works for us,
Okay.
basically. If we can make your offering better by saying, look, this is a great survey analytics is great, but or Question Pro is great, but it's even better, when you've got this for your open ends, and we're getting
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah,
That I
my
think
ideal I think is
is
good. I'm thinking that would be
yeah,
really good just because, I mean, if we sell it as a package, I know my sales team would be, uh, they would love to be like, well, we can throw in, DiscoverText, but it would be only for large deals. I wouldn't throw it in any small things. And in terms, so that's kind of, I'll work it out with them in terms of what they need to do. But I'd like
sure,
to be able to, because our thing now is we're trying to cross sell and sell everything under the sun that we can possibly do. So, we'll help you and you'll help us, I'm sure, in many ways. um,
well,
yeah, I'll have to
that
think
sounds
about
great.
that. And I don't know. I'll have to talk to Vivek. I don't want to step on his toes. I'm not really sure if he doesn't like the pricing, then obviously I'd have to think about additional package pricing, what that would be, and what's our minimum, and what's our that we would need to sell it at in order to include Discover Tax.
Right.
Um,
Well, I mean, how does that work with your customers? Do they tend to have a single price that covers anybody in their organization?
um,
Sort of at an how actually, you know what? I probably should start a whole discussion of your pricing because I actually haven't, believe it or not, one last meeting. It starts in 2 minutes.
okay, well, I'll
Uh,
let you go with that, but
uh,
I'll think about that one.
yeah, why don't you think about it? I mean, from me, it's still an important priority for me to convince Vivek that having the kind of API between DiscoverText and your software, like we have with Facebook, that's really the future, right? Because that takes a lot of and it's not even that painful. If I take an XML file out of IdeaScale right now,
Mm-hmm.
it goes straight into DiscoverText, and it's just a download upload.
Yeah, we have an
But
XML export into Discover Text right now too.
oh, you
So
do?
yeah, so we do have that, but we don't. It's
Okay.
not manual or automated or anyway
Right,
like that.
right. Okay.
But that
Okay.
would work just fine.
Yeah. Yep. We
Okay.
like we love XML.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, we've got that. So that's why I just, when people ask me, well, what does Discover Text do? I'm like, well, you download an XML
Yeah.
export, and then you gotta open up your Discover Text account and then jump in there. But if it maybe in the future, if there was easier to automatically log in from Survey Analytics into Discover Text, I think that would be probably more seamless in the future. But I don't know.
Yeah. Something to work towards.
Yeah, it would be. But I
Well,
appreciate your time
yeah,
very
me
much.
too. Just let me know what I can do, Esther, and if you hit any snags, just feel free to call.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.